In 2009, the paedophile Jimmy Savile was interviewed under caution by police in Surrey and Sussex. Subsequently, the police referred 4 cases to the CPS alleging that Jimmy Savile had abused 3 girls under the age of 16. The CPS, after receiving the files from the police, refused to prosecute Savile and dropped the case, claiming insufficient evidence. After Savile's death, and despite multiple attempts of high-level cover-ups, we now know that he abused up to 500 victims over a 4-decade period. Why am I sharing this with you? The man in charge of the CPS at the time that decided there was insufficient evidence to charge Savile is the now leader of the Labour Party, Sir Keir Starmer. And if he's a paedophile protector, he must be a paedophile. And let's not forget he's a QC, Sir Queen's Counsel. That should tell you all you need to know about that Keir Starmer piece of shit. How crazy is it that the entire world is aware of the fact that our elite not only are paedophiles, but they had an island that was used specifically to rape kids, and everyone is still going on with their lives like no big deal. Science for sale. There is no science anymore, just researchers who are given grants by governments and drug companies to come up with results that are encouraged to reach. If they don't come up with those results, they don't get any more grants and therefore they don't work. They work for grants. They are like welfare recipients. And drug addicts, it's all about the next grant. Those who uncover or discover results that don't toe the line are destroyed and dismissed. Pseudoscience. Is this what we want? Shopping online, school online, mail online, work online, meeting online, relax online, news online, art online, sex online, movie online, bills online, chat online. Because that's where they want to take us. If we don't stand up and say we've had enough of your lies and deception. Oh, and let's not forget the raping of children. Let's not forget that little one, hey. Then that's where we're headed. Black people thought they were receiving free healthcare, but instead were injected with syphilis. This was conducted by the US Public Health Service and happened over a period of 40 years between 1932 and 1972. US government offers free healthcare to southern rural blacks, intentionally injects them with syphilis. You still want your poison? Depressive realism is a theory that people suffering from depression may actually have a more accurate perception of reality than those with healthy minds. There are 4 types of people you will meet in your life. 1. The people who try to wake up the slaves. 2. The slave masters. 3. The people who have no idea they're slaves. 4. The people who like being slaves. Which one are you? Answer in description. Brave Met Police cops arrest pensioner nurse protesting against NHS cuts outside Parliament. She is now incarcerated in Paddington Green High Security Detention Centre after being classified as a domestic extremist. This is where it's going. Ovid is a Latin for a sheep. COVID starts with a C, which also means sea. In ancient language, 19 was known as the number of surrender in ancient times. See Ovid 19. See a sheep surrender. When your family and friends ask if you really have to speak out on the corruption in the world, every day, all day, anywhere, anytime. And that should be you too. In fact, I know it's you lot too. When you thought you were witnessing a horrible crime taking place, but they were just Freemason actors. Now this is interesting. There's another bit a little bit later as well about this. But apparently Bill Gates, William Bill Henry Gates III, born 1955, died July 29th, 2013. Her husband, William Bill Henry, passed away on July 29th, 2013, at the age of 58. They had been married 19 years. And I'll come back to that a little later. Oprah reveals she has cancelled all plans through the end of 2020 and says her dog is currently quarantined in her guest house over fears the pooch may be carrying the bullshit. Now, I've got another theory for this, as things I've been watching and reading recently suggest that she is now under house arrest for treason. And so's that other one, Ellen DeGeneres. She is also apparently under house arrest. A good friend of mine just made me aware of something. So I watched the video again and noticed that George Floyd had hair when he was arrested and when he was pushed into the police car. But when Derek Chauvin pulled him out of the other side of the car and kneeled on him, he had no hair. Also, the shape of his head dramatically changes. Please get this shared madly. Hair, no hair. You know what they say, here today, gone tomorrow. Or if you're a crisis actor at any rate. I'm sick of telling people this, but I'm going to do it because it's now apparently official. And when I say official, of course, I mean it's in the Telegraph, so it's official according to them. Exclusive. No evidence for 2-metre rule, Oxford expert says. Leading scientists call for an end to the formalised rules. And that's all they are, rules. So you do not have to obey them. The 2-metre rule has no basis in science. Leading scientists have said as the government come under increasing pressure to drop the measure. Bearing in mind that in France, Paris, Greece, all over, they've not been under this 2-metre rule. They've been in the pubs and restaurants eating and drinking. Oh, and guess what? No pandemic. Writing for the Telegraph, Professor Carl Hennigan and Tom Jefferson from the University of Oxford said there is little evidence to support the restriction and called for an end to the formalised rules. The University of Dundee also said there was no indication that a distancing at 2 metres is safer than 1 metre. The intervention comes as two government ministers suggested on Monday that rule is likely to be relaxed following a review commissioned by Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister. On Tuesday, shops experienced daily footfall drops of 41% compared to the same day last year, while enormous queues built up outside because of the bullshit social distancing rules. That's all it is. It's a rule. It means nothing. The bullshit will accelerate the trend towards a cashless society. Well, as if that wasn't the plan all along. The world after the bullshit will probably be far more digitised and payment system appears as likely to be impacted by this as any other aspect of daily life. The use of cash has been falling around the world by design. In Australia, less than 30% of payments are in cash these days, whereas a decade and a half ago, more than 70% of transactions were in cash. In Sweden, the use of cash for payments is so low, about 10% of payments, it is a near cashless society. The pandemic and the fear of infection from banknotes, even though it is absolutely impossible to spread that way, are accelerating the trend away from cash towards a total cashless dictatorship. The Bank of International Settlements, traitor to humanity, is a paper released last year said the outbreak had led to unprecedented public concern about viral transmission via cash, with central banks reporting a large increase in media inquiries about the safety of using cash and internet searches for the combination of cash and virus soaring. The intensity of recent searches for those two words, according to graphics in the BIS paper, is most accurate in Australia and France. Around the world, countries are sterilising their banknotes. Nope, I'm not. Even though there are, as yet, no known cases of transmission via cash. There are no known cases of transmission via cash. The false flag appears, however, to survive longer on non-porous materials like plastic and steel, which probably explains consumer anxiety. Historically, in times of crisis, consumers hoarded cash. This time, however, appears to be different, and the bullshit could accelerate the trend away from cash and towards digital transactions, which has been the plan all along. It is already generating increasing interest in digital currencies, with China said to be close to releasing a digital version of its currency. In recent years, most central banks have started researching the potential for digital currencies, with their efforts intensifying after Facebook's attempt to launch its own global digital currency, Libra. The Libra rollout stalled after some of its core backers pulled out in the face of strong central bank and legislator opposition to the notion of a privately owned digital currency, and it appears Facebook might try to alter its strategy towards the use of Libra's infrastructure as a platform for third parties' digital payment ambitions. Facebook was pursuing a stable coin strategy, with Libra value established by a basket of physical currencies whose value would match that of the value of stable cap coins in circulation. And some of you might be going, but Mark, what's wrong with having no cash? Any of you out there think that? Okay, well, for those that do, I'll tell you what's wrong with that. The first thing is the bankers can then just type any number they want into their and their friends' bank accounts, and they have that amount of money, whilst making sure that you don't, of course. If, say, for instance, because of this push for a totalitarian dictatorship, they brought in cashless society, in other words, card payments only, and you should be avoiding these shops. If you're going to shop, say no. Walk away, go somewhere else. Even if it's the only one that does it, do that and they will soon revert back to the way it should be. But, so if you go now and that you give your card to pay and they go, oh, it doesn't work, it's broke, it's cancelled, you've got no money, whatever excuse they want to come up with, you go, oh, no problem, here, I'll pay in cash. If you have got no cash and your card doesn't work for whatever reason, and say you've got multiple cards and say none of them work, you're screwed. And that's the plan. That's part of the plan. That's been part of this plan of this scamdemic all along. Multiple agendas were rolled out with this scam. Scientists built a genius device that generates electricity out of thin air. They'll be bumped off soon, I would suspect then. They found it buried in the muddy shores of the Potomac River more than 3 decades ago. A strange sediment organism that could do things nobody had ever seen before in bacteria. This unusual microbe, belonging to the Geobacter genus, was first noted for its ability to produce magnetite in the absence of oxygen, but with time scientists found it could make other things too, like bacteria nanowires that conduct electricity. For years, researchers have been trying to figure out ways to usefully exploit the natural gift, and they might have just hit pay dirt with a device they're calling the AirGen. According to the team, their device can create electricity out of, well, almost nothing. We are literally making electricity out of thin air, says electrical engineer Jun Yao from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. The AirGen generators clean energy 24/7. And I would suspect actually what they're doing there is taking this energy from the ether rather than thin air as they're putting, but it must be able to reach up to the ether in some way. The claim may sound like an overstatement, but a new study by Yao and his team describes how the air-powered generator can indeed create electricity with nothing but the presence of air around it. It's all thanks to the electrically conductive protein nanowires produced by Geobacter, G. sulforeducens in this instance. The air consists of a thin film of the protein nanowires measuring just 7 micrometers thick, positioned between two electrodes, but also exposed to the air. So, Bill and Melinda Gates both died in July of 2013, according to Ancestry.com. Go and check it out for yourself if they've not changed it yet. Lol. So what? Do they have doubles? Are we doing clones now? Because those are definitely not the same people. This is so strange. And yes, it's definitely not the same. Whether it's a clone, whether they're just lookalikes, who knows? But they are doing exactly as the satanic Luciferian masters tell them to do. Facebook suspends pages that shame paedophiles. Let me just read that again. Facebook suspends pages that shame child rapists. That should tell you all you need to know about Facebook. NBC published a piece creating a martyr of a paedophile who committed suicide in the January 2nd piece by Brandy Zadrounzi, paedophile Elaine Malcolm, who committed the innocent and innocuous mistake of trying to have sex with a 14-year-old boy, lionized for being Jamaican and gay. Zadrounzi highlights his academic achievements and struggles, painting Malcolm as the victim and deserving of the sympathy, and those who confront and record him entering a home to have sex with a child as a real villain. It is reminiscent of the Dateline show, ironically from NBC, called To Catch a Predator. This show ran for 3 seasons. In that show, actors would pose as children online where predators who initiated a meet would show up to a sting house, be confronted on national television, and then arrested upon exit. In the age of independent viral content, private citizens have taken it upon themselves to create similar content and upload it to the internet. Many of these groups operate on Facebook, where it is easier for such content to be shared and seen by large audiences. NBC reached out to Facebook for comment on these evil vigilantes exposing the poor, misunderstood child predators, and Facebook responded, "We want people to use Facebook and our products to raise awareness about threats to public safety, including those who may pose a harm to children," a company spokesman said in a statement to NBC News. However, we do not want people to use Facebook to facilitate vigilante violence. That's why we have policies against threatening real-world harm and to protect people's privacy if they are being publicly shamed. We will remove content that violates these policies when it is reported, because we are a paedophile organisation. In other words, Facebook is having difficulty reconciling harm being done to children and shaming people on the internet who do harm to children. Unfortunately, it appears that Facebook is tending to side with the predators or the paedophiles or the child rapists. That should tell you all you need to know about Facebook. Or should that be child rapist book? Paedophile book? Fauci changes tune. Now says second bullshit wave may never happen. And mask wearing is symbolic. Didn't say what it was symbolic of, but I'll tell you, it's symbolic of you being a slave and having your mouth shut to show that you have no voice. So if you're wearing these masks and thinking, it's good for you. No, it's not good for you. You are saying I am a slave and I have no voice. And what's more, there's been several videos now that's come out where you can just do a search and you'll find them, where they put ear monitors up underneath the mask. They show you with it before, putting the monitor just at the beginning of his mouth and breathing normally. It's about 21.5%, 21%. And then he puts the mask on and it drops dramatically. As soon as it gets to below 19.5, the alarm starts going. Wearing a mask could suffocate you, or should I say hypoxiate you, because you'll be starved of oxygen because you're breathing your own bacteria into the mask along with carbon dioxide and a little bit of air that's going out, and then you're breathing it back in, the carbon dioxide, the bacteria, with a little bit of air. And each time you're doing that, it's getting worse and worse. So if you're wearing a mask all day long, I would give you a couple of weeks before you start having problems. Especially as numerous doctors have come out and said they are absolutely 1,000,000,000% pointless, useless, no good whatsoever. Dr. Anthony Fauci now says that a second wave of bullshit may not even happen and that wearing a mask is largely symbolic at this point. And I've told you what it's symbolic of. In a Wednesday interview with CNN's newsroom, Fauci, member of the White House's bullshit task force, said that a second bullshit wave is not necessarily inevitable. We often talk about the possibility of a second wave or of an outbreak when you're reopening, Fauci explained, because we want to keep you in fear and in scared shitless, so you'll keep wearing the mask and a lot of you will die from that. But don't say you weren't warned. Fauci explained, we don't have to accept that as an inevitability. Particularly, he continued, when people start thinking about the fall. I want people to really appreciate that it could happen, but it is not inevitable. Yeah, but the flu will come along. That is inevitable. And if they decide, it's another scamdemic, will you all fall for it again? My guess is a lot of you will, but not those listening to this channel. Fauci admitted that he is beginning to feel more and more optimistic as days go by and insists that the US's expanded capability for testing is bolstering the bullshit response. And if you want to read more, you must be crazy. But that link there, that pain link, very good. You should get over to that and listen to that. Some very good information comes from that. I'm starting a protest tomorrow. Fat Lives Matter. Meeting at McDonald's at 10, then KFC 11, then onwards to Greg's at 12. What's got 200 legs and 3 teeth? The queue outside Primark. Mummy, why aren't we wearing masks? Because bullshit comes in through your ears, honey, not your mouth. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic and/or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent. For the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state. Joseph Goebbels.